This past Tuesday at NXT Gold Rush on week 1, we saw one of the most ultimate act of betrayals we had ever seen in a very long time. What is that, you may ask? Well, the answer is simple. We saw Izzy Dame and the rest of the Colleen turn their back on Tatum Paxley, costing her the NXT Women's Championship against Jacy Jane. Honestly, I can't really say that I'm surprised. And we all know why. We all know why. It has a lot to do with the fact that Izzy Dame was trying to tell Tatum Paxley to pick and choose her battles. Unfortunately, Tatum Paxley did not do such. She did not do as such. And as a result of that, Tatum Paxley is no longer the NXT Women's Champion. In fact, her reign lasted only 28, 29 days, somewhere around there, making her reign the shortest in NXT history. The longest in NXT history is a little over 400 days, currently held by Shayna Baszler, the first ever two-time NXT Women's Champion in history. Jacy Jane now is in the conversation of being an NXT legend, alongside women like Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, and Roxanne Perez, who are, again, with Jacy Jane, are the only 4 that have held the NXT Women's Championship twice. Now that Tatum Paxley is no longer the NXT Women's Champion, and the fact that she is no longer with the Colleen, what's next for Tatum Paxley? What is next for the now former NXT Women's Champion? And who should Jacy Jane defend the title against going into NXT Deadline? Well, as far as Jacy Jane goes, 100% it has to be Tatum Paxley. 100%. Because if Tatum Paxley doesn't regain the NXT Women's title, there's really no telling what she'll do next. Excuse me. I will say, in my opinion, I feel like that Tatum Paxley in the Colleen was probably the worst case scenario we could have ever dreamt of. And the reason why I say that is because every single person that Tatum Paxley had teamed up with over the years since joining NXT during the pandemic, it didn't really work out for her. Obviously, she had teamed up with women like Ivy Nile, Wendy Chu, Lyra Valkyria, obviously Shotzi, Gigi Dolan, all of which had either gotten released from WWE of their contracts, they're on another brand. So when you think of Gigi and Shotzi, they ended up getting released from WWE just mere months before they were supposed to be a part of the main roster as a trio in WWE. Lyra Valkyria ended up getting drafted to Monday Night Raw. Ivy Nile, the exact same thing. Wendy Chu, on the other hand, ended up moving to WWE Evolve, which we saw last night on Evolve. A incredible matchup between PJ Vasa and, of course, Callie Armstrong, the former Evolve Women's Champion. And I will say that this might be probably one of the best brands we've ever seen, because again Evolve is where it starts, right? Like like if you've been competing on the independent scene for a minute now, and you're trying to make your way up into the ranks of WWE, Evolve is where it's at. We've seen so many NXT talent go over to Evolve and just test their skills against so many different WWE ID prospects, including guys like Timothy Thatcher, tag teams like OTM, women like Wendy Chu, Carmen Petrovic. Obviously, we saw last night Carmen go up face off against Xena Sterling, who was one of the runner-ups from season 1 and 2 of LFG, which I'm not sure if we'll be getting a third season. I'm not so sure. We just might. Who knows? Only time will tell. But we've seen a lot of talent go over to Evolve from NXT. We even saw as well Natalya a couple months ago challenge Callie Armstrong for the Evolve Women's title when Callie was the champion. Now that Kendall Gray is champion, the possibilities are out there. But going back to Tatum and Jacy, don't get me wrong. I think Jacy Jane has. I think now that she's a 2-time champion, I think now fans are starting to take her seriously, but they're not taking Fallon Henley seriously, and they're not taking Lainey Reed seriously because of the fact that people consider them Jacy Jane's lackeys, and I don't see it that way. The way I see it, Fatal Influence reminds me so much of they remind me so much of the Undisputed Era, where while it is true that Jacy Jane is the leader of Fatal Influence, she treats both Fallon and Lainey as her equal. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see Jacy Jane being taken seriously after being with NXT for so many years. And I will say, I will say that this might just be the best version of Jacy Jane we had ever seen, ever. And I think the best version of her was when she was a part of Toxic Attraction. But even that even being with Toxic Attraction, that was her jump start, if you will. And then when she was a part of Chase U, fans started to get by her a bit. But then obviously we all knew that it was not going to work out. But I will say that Tatum Paxley as NXT Women's Champion was the right judgment call on WWE's end, but putting it back on Jacy Jane, was even better, because now that Tatum Paxley, had a taste of what it was like to be a champion in WWE. Now she has an opportunity to regain the title and take the reign more and more seriously over time. And thinking on it now, I mean, there are multiple possibilities that we could see when it comes to Tatum Paxley. For one, as I said, she could chase after the NXT Women's title again, or she could also attempt to convince John Cena to be a part of the Women's Iron Survivor, which I never thought that we would ever see the Iron Survivor Challenge again, because it was such the concept is so unique, so unique, so incredible. You cannot go wrong with the Iron Survivor. But I think John Cena has to take into consideration the fact that Tatum Paxley wants to be the NXT Women's Champion. She wants it more than anything else. But when you really think about it, and you look at what the culling did to Tatum, I can honestly say that we might end up seeing more of Lyra Valkyria on NXT than ever before. It is very possible because Lyra was the only person that understood Tatum Paxley's scenario, I guess would be the proper term, and knew what she was going through. And now that Tatum is no longer the NXT Women's Champion, there are so many possibilities. There are so many different scenarios that we could see out of Tatum Paxley. For one, again, as I stated, she could get a rematch for the title. She could attempt to compete in the women's Iron Survivor, or she could take out the woman that cost her the title in the first place, that being Izzy Dane. Which I'm assuming, if John Cena was smart, he would put both Izzy and Tatum in the women's Iron Survivor. That way Tatum Paxley can get her hands on Izzy and find a way to win the women's Iron Survivor, and then go to NXT New Year's Evil and regain the NXT Women's title. That's one thing. Another thing that we could also see, and it's kind of a weird idea, but we could potentially see Tatum Paxley not even go after the NXT Women's title and just put her focus only on Izzy Dane. It's possible, but Tatum Paxley would need two people to team up with against the culling, all three members of the culling. And it's weird because Tatum Paxley, she was committed. She was 100% committed to the group, but the moment she became NXT Women's Champion was when Izzy Dane was just like, oh no, we can't have this. We cannot have this. It was jealousy. She did it out of jealousy, and I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think as far as like who could be next for Jacy Jayne, we're still less than a few weeks away from NXT Deadline, and the way I see it, Jacy Jayne does indeed need a challenger for her second reign as champion. But if it's not going to be Tatum Paxley, it has to be someone that has had her issues with Fatal Influence in the past, and there are several. There's Lola Vice, there's Jada Parker, there's Kalani Jordan, just to name a few. And at this point, I do believe that it has to be Lola Vice, because she got screwed out of the NXT women's title back at No Mercy in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Right in front of Lola Vice's own family, it was just horrible. It was just so sad to see. So, my opinion, it has to be Lola Vice if it's not Tatum Paxley. But as far as like what the future holds for Tatum Paxley, again, we could see her on the main roster as soon as next year. But even if that were to be the case, she probably would just get lost in the shuffle, and it would not be a good look for Tatum Paxley. So in my opinion, she would have to go after Izzy Dame and chase after the NXT Women's title once again, which this upcoming Tuesday we could see that, but my honest opinion is that because that NXT is going to go live not this upcoming Tuesday but the following Tuesday, I can honestly say that Tuesday we might see Tatum Paxley just crash out and just beat the holy hell out of Izzy Dane. Only time will tell. You never know. But with that being said, that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.